I'm Luke Summerhays, and I love Tynamo. Electric eels are infamous real-life animals that seem primed for adaptation into a Pokémon species. How many other real creatures are already genuinely linked to an elemental type in that way? While many species of fish, including sharks, use electrical organs to sense other creatures in electrical fields around them, electric eels are among the incredibly few who can discharge electricity to stun their prey. Living in the Amazon, electric eels are not actually eels, but closer related to catfish. Nonetheless, they are long, slender, snake-like creatures which swim through the waters, so it's understandable that they are confused with eels and colloquially referred to as such. Tynamo is a small white fish-like Pokémon with a yellow lightning bolt pattern on its side and undulating frill-like fins on its top and bottom. It resembles the larval form of many eel species, along with any number of examples of other species of fish, or even skyfish. Rods, sometimes called skyfish, are a mysterious phenomenon which baffled photographers for some time. While many people claimed these unusual undulating aerial objects were aliens or interdimensional beings, they proved to actually be the result of regular moths and insects moving too quickly during the long exposure period of old cameras. Still, they do resemble Tynamo, especially given the Pokémon's propensity for hovering in the air, and its placement in the Pokédex next to some space aliens. Real-life bioelectrical animals, even the mighty electric eels, are only capable of quite small amounts of power, enough to stun a human at maximum. Certainly nothing like the thunderstorms we often see Pokémon produce. Tynamo, too, is humble in its electrical power, at least at this stage. Pokémon Black tells us, "While one alone doesn't have much power, a chain of many Tynamo can be as powerful as lightning." While Pokémon White tells us, "These Pokémon move in schools. They have an electricity generating organ, so they discharge electricity if in danger." The name, Tynamo, combines Tyke, as this is an infant, with Dynamo, an electricity generating apparatus. The Japanese name is Shibishirasu, combining the Japanese name for an electric eel, Shibire Unagi, with the Japanese name for the whitebait, another small fish. At level 39, we can stop messing around with tykes and bait when Tynamo evolves into Eelektrik. Eelektrik is a bigger, longer, and more eel-like Pokémon, with the addition of a round, sucker-like mouth, seen on the Lamprey, another snake-like sea creature often mistaken for an eel. In Japan, Lamprey are called Yatsume Unagi. This name means eight-eyed eel, and comes from the existence of 6 round gills which complement the 2 eyes, for a total of 8. In the case of Eelektrik, these extra spots are actually electricity generating. Pokémon White tells us, "These Pokémon have a big appetite. When they spot their prey, they attack it and paralyze it with electricity." And Black 2 tells us, "It wraps itself around its prey and paralyzes it with electricity from the round spots on its side. Then it chomps." Friend of the show, Mikey from Pokémon Crossroads, got in touch about a competitive niche that Eelektrik held in the trading card game. Eelektrik, from Noble Victories during the Black and White era of the TCG, was a notable card. It had the Dynamotor ability, which allowed it to attach electric energy from the discard to your benched Pokémon. It was the backbone for a few decks when it was in the standard format. At first it was used in various electric decks with Zekrom, though it was used in the Mewtwo EX decks during the infamous Mewtwo Wars. It made its home with Rayquaza EX, who needed fire and electric energy to fire off powerful dragon burst attacks turn after turn. The English name, of course, is a combination of eel and electric. The Japanese name, Shibibil, combines the Japanese Shibire Unagi with the English electric eel, and also brings in bidi bidi, the Japanese onomatopoeia for an electric shock. Eelektrik will be more electric and giving bigger shocks after it is exposed to a thunderstone and evolves into Eelektross. Eelektross is a big, monstrous lamprey-like black eel with two appendages like arms on its side. With its vampiric tendencies, the lamprey is included as a monster in fantasy games like Dungeons & Dragons, and more recently, the DLC for Elden Ring, which introduced a lamprey monster which even has Eelektross 2 arms, and a black variety that shoots lightning-like magic attacks. It doesn't seem to have a major basis in mythology or folklore prior to Dungeons & Dragons, though one of the earliest and most often reproduced anatomical paintings of the lamprey, from the 17 or 1800s, depicts one lying over another in a manner which makes it appear the closer of the two has a pair of tentacle-like arms. Whether their origin is in folklore, 18th century misunderstandings, or 20th century popular culture, a blood-sucking lamprey the size of a man, attacking on the land like a vampire, is a terrifying image. Pokémon Black tells us, "They crawl out of the ocean using their arms. They will attack prey on shore and immediately drag it into the ocean." And Pokémon White tells us, "With their sucker mouths, they suck in prey. Then they use their fangs to shock the prey with electricity." And Black 2 and White 2 tell us, "It latches onto prey with its sucker mouth, sinking in its fangs and shocking the prey with powerful electricity." Eelektross lives up to the menacing premise, as it can be a seriously dangerous monster. With a decent spread of physical and special attacks, it can deal damage, but it's also hard to knock out. As a pure electric type Pokemon, its only weakness is to the ground type, but thanks to the ability Levitate, it isn't affected by ground type moves. These advantages were very appealing to our good friend Jay. The name, Eelektross, refers to this Pokemon being an electric boss, and having come second place in a world final, it isn't a misnomer. The Japanese name is Shiburidon, either referring to its powerful bite with the suffix don, meaning teeth, or again, calling it a boss. Eelektross is a boss, and with this podcast coinciding with both the Tynamo Community Day and the release of From Software's very familiar monster design, I think the world might be about to recognise just how much of a boss it is. Original music for Luke Loves Pokemon is by Jonathan Crowley. Artwork for the show is by Katie Groves. Tynamo and Family were designed by Yusuke Omura, and apparently based on a gross eel which the development team fished up. Funding is provided by listeners at patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. For just $1 a month, supporters can listen to episodes a week early, and also help cover hosting and fees, making it possible for me to keep making episodes every week. I love hearing from listeners. Get in touch about upcoming Pokemon on Twitter or Facebook at LukeLovesPKMN. Drop a comment if you're watching the video, or a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Coming up are LGM and Litwick, so please get in touch about those or any other monsters. Even if you don't feel like doing any of that, thank you so much just for listening. I love Tynamo, and remember, I love you too.